as soon as people start to join, I'm just going to wait a minute to like
Okay.
let them get organized. No one's joining yet. Everyone, if you're just joining us, we're going to pause here for maybe like 30 seconds just to make sure everyone can get settled and logged in correctly. So if you're joining, if you'll just sit tight for, again, about a minute and we'll get started. Again, we're just pausing for a second as people join and get settled. So we'll be starting momentarily. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. My name's Austin from the Berry Melts team, and just a few bits of housekeeping before we get started. So today's session is going to be 30 minutes, and so we have it planned that we'll be over by 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm not sure if we're going to have time for Q&A at the end, but there is a Q&A module within Zoom. So if you have a question while we're talking, be sure to write it there. And if we don't have time to answer it on the air, we can follow up with you via email at the end. On that note, please be sure to stick through the end of the webinar because we have some exciting announcements. First of all, about a new Berry Melts product that we're launching, and then also an opportunity for some sales and promotions coming up for your patients. So I'll explain all of that as we close at the very end. So be sure to stick through the 30-minute session. Just to introduce myself, my name is Austin Rhodes from the Berry Melts team. I work largely with the practitioner side of the business. So for all of the RDs joining us, you likely recognize my name. We've worked together in the past. And if you have any general questions about Berry Melts, our products, our company, how we support patients, feel free to reach out. The best email would be hello@berrymelts.com. And then my personal email is austin@berrymelts.com. And today I'm joined by Whitney Gibson. Whitney is a bariatric dietitian, and we've worked together for years. Just a little bit of background on Whitney. So she started her career at a bariatric surgery center in Bradenton, Florida. And while working with patients, Whitney realized that, as the touch points with patients wind down as they get further and further out from surgery, there's a huge need for additional care, whether it's nutrition, exercise, everything that a patient might need as they progress but aren't seeing their providers as often. And so Whitney founded her own company, Level Up Bariatrics, which provides comprehensive support to patients. And so I'm sure she'll mention just a little bit about that as we progress. So Whitney, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be discussing the shifting demographics of bariatric surgery. And so younger patients are starting to get surgery, and we're seeing a trend there. And so as you can imagine, younger patients have different preferences. They have different needs. The way that practitioners should speak with younger patients is different. And so that's what we are going to be covering today. And so Whitney, thrilled to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I guess, why don't you start, just if there's any background information that I missed, and then feel free to continue with the session. So thank you
Yeah,
very much.
that was a perfect introduction. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm kind of passionate about this topic here because like you were saying, when I was in the office, I started to see this shift just myself. So firsthand, I was dealing with accommodating to the younger patient as well. When I first began like 5 years ago, it was very much a baby boomer generation. It was a lot of retirees. It was, 40 plus. And now what we're seeing is much more 20 somethings and 30 somethings, or even 18 and above. So we'll go over a few of these statistics and some changing trends that we're seeing. But to further my introduction, I am, like you said, the founder of Level Up Bariatrics. I did this because I was so passionate about continuing the care of these patients. I saw less and less of my patients as they got past their surgery, and they would just kind of fall off the map. But I would see a lot of people with regain, and they would stop doing their routines, and everything just kind of changed. But with the younger generation, I saw something a little bit different, and they were more apt to stay on top of things. But in order to do that, they needed to be provided with something different than what we were giving them, giving the rest of the population or demographic. So all that to say, with my expertise in the weight loss industry, which has been about 10 years, I have really tapped into the needs of our clients and patients. I've created comprehensive nutrition, mindset, exercise, and coaching programs, all to support anyone in the medical or surgical field or weight loss field. So I'm super passionate about my work. I love teaching. I love creating community. So I'm all about all of this. So I think you can probably see that. But thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Our focus today is going to be understanding the preferences and perspectives of younger bariatric patients and exploring strategies to meet the needs effectively. So we really want to focus on improving patient outcomes, no matter what the age is. And we're going to kind of tap into how to do that. So just a few changing trends, the evolving demographics of bariatric surgery. Number one, we're seeing an increasing number of younger patients, ages 18 to 35, seeking bariatric surgery. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'll give you another number in just a second. But number two, we're seeing shifts in obesity patterns and early onset of related issues. They're tackling these problems well in advance. They're looking at their generations ahead of them. They're looking at their genetics. They're looking at mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles, and they're saying, nope, I don't want it. I'm going to fight against it. I'm going to take advantage of my life. So they're intervening well earlier in their life. And then three, the impact of lifestyle and dietary changes in younger demographics. So to put a number to it, just to kind of give a visual, in 2015, only 8.6% of bariatric procedures were performed on young adults. That's only grown since then. So by 2020, we were up to 12.3%. So you can imagine those numbers have increased in the younger generation, and they will likely continue to increase. But there are other methods other than surgery now. So we'll see how that works out too. But the key preferences of younger bariatric patients. So number one, they're looking for more of a holistic care approach. And we're going to kind of dive in deeper to each one of these, but they're looking for more of an integration of physical, emotional, and psychological support. Secondly, they're looking for more of a technological integration. And I think this is obvious. Our younger generations, we are so tech savvy. We are reaching out. We want apps. We want wearable tech. We want telehealth options. So we'll talk more about that as well. And then they're wanting more community and support networks. The level of people that have asked me, do you have a support group? Do you have a support group? Do you have a support group? I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm not going to provide you a support group now, because that's exactly where they want to be. They want to be talking to people that are going through the same thing. They need that communication. They need that connection. They need that camaraderie. So we've got online forums. We've got social media groups. We've got peer support systems. We've got a lot of options when it comes to that.
Whitney, real quick, social media jogged my memory. Can you just touch a little bit on how younger patients are actually finding bariatric surgeons and centers as well? Because, a lot of times we hear that social media is the number one way that patients are finding the doctor that they want to work with. So can you just touch a little bit too on, that aspect of social media?
Yeah, I think that's probably right now a huge miss for a lot of clinics and private practices, is the fact that you're not on social media, namely Instagram. Now, this younger population, that's the first thing they go to when they're looking for more information. They're looking for reputable sources. They're looking for providers. Yeah, it's different in one aspect, but the fact that there are thousands, maybe millions, I don't know the number of social influencers in the bariatric space online. I mean, I would challenge you to get online and on Instagram and actually see how saturated this market is on Facebook. I'm sorry, on Instagram. There are tons of influencers, peer coaches, been there, done that, I'll help you type of thing. But it's really fun too. Like, I've seen a couple of private practices that are just blowing up Instagram. They're so popular and they do fun things, and They, make people feel involved. They do. I mean, it's kind of cool to see how some of these centers are shifting to kind of accommodate to the younger demographic. Like that's where it's at right now, honestly.
Thanks for touching on that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
helpful because I think it's, as you said, it's an opportunity for a lot of surgeons, clinics,
It
providers.
really is.
So
And,
I'm glad you.
I understand, like, most clinics aren't going to have the manpower to control a social media group or to run a social media group, but even like a couple of posts a week can probably be okay for them. But there are people looking for that other than reviews, so reviews are huge. You want
Yeah.
good reviews, you got to give good service. You got to get, all these things have to be in line, but this younger generation is looking for reviews and they are on Instagram and searching on social media groups. Online forums too. There's Reddit, Bariatric Pal, Obesity Help. These are huge online forums. Now, as a provider, as a coach, as a company owner, I do not really ever tell people to go to these online forums. They're the Wild West. They're not moderated by anyone. There's just a bunch of, you know, I'd say uneducated, poor advice being given to one another rather than from a provider or a professional. So I would really err on the side of caution when recommending people go to forums, because I look at some of the conversations that are happening here and it's doing more harm than good, to be quite honest. But there are online forums. I'm just merely showing this is a part of that generation. And then lastly, peer support systems. So they are asking for more convenient ways to get support from, say, live support groups online, small focus groups online, you name it. They're already at their computer and phones anyway. How can you tap into that? How can you like get in there? Because that's the easiest way to do it. And then, you still have that population or a part of that population who want local meetups, face-to-face events, like, start a walking group with your practice, or, a cooking workshop, a live cooking workshop. I mean, interaction is something that a lot of these people want to do, be hands-on, and that really works whether it's online or virtual or in person. But having a couple of different approaches or options is best. Patient-centered communication. They're really craving clear, transparent information about procedures, risks, and outcomes. And that's not to say that others are not, but they are a lot more aware of their bodies, protective of their self-care and their life. They want to take advantage of everything in life. So they want to make sure this surgery is safe and that it's right for them, because they've seen where it has not been for others. So we kind of have to break it down and really be clear about those things. And then ongoing dialogue with healthcare providers. They want to know that you're going to be there when they need them. I can tell you that. A lot of people have told me, well, I can't get in touch with my office anymore. And I'm like, so, making sure that you've got some kind of a systematic program to where they feel like they're going to be supported on the back end after surgery. Now, RD appointments may not be covered, but that was the way it was in my office. The RD appointments weren't covered, but I told them, you're coming in for every 3 months for the first year. And they would come, and they were highly successful. They paid for me out of pocket. So don't think that just because insurance doesn't cover an RD that they don't want that appointment. Offer it to them anyway, or outsource. Perspectives on bariatric surgery. So motivations for surgery, really the motivations are quite similar than anyone else. They have a desire for improved quality of life and self-esteem, resolution of comorbidities. So they're addressing these comorbidities, or, quick on or upon the onset, they are tackling them. They're intervening in their own lives. They're staying ahead of the game. And then social influences and the desire to fit in with peers. This is huge. I mean, from the ages of 18 to 35, you're still in that world where you're scrolling on social media, you're comparing yourselves to others, especially women. Why don't I look like that? Why can't I have that life? You're constantly comparing. The grass is greener on the other side, kind of thing. So social influences, friends, I want to do what they're doing. I want to have that type of healthy life. That very much plays a role. And they want to stay around for their kids. They want to be able to run around with their kids and, just take advantage of more of their life rather than waiting. Concerns and fears. So this is somewhat similar too. They have anxiety about surgical risks and complications. They have concerns about post-surgery lifestyle changes and adherence. And to address these concerns, especially the last one, fear of weight regain and long-term effectiveness. This is a huge topic. I have to probably talk about this at least once a week and talk someone into, no, I don't want to say talk someone into surgery, but people might fear surgery because they've seen their mom, dad, grandma, friend regain their weight and they just think that automatically happens. But what they don't know, and I have to explain, is these people likely either chose to not follow along with the support they were provided or not take advantage of it, or maybe they were in a surgery center that clearly just merely did the surgery and said goodbye. You never know the situation behind the curtains. Maybe they never started an exercise routine. Like there's always a reason someone ended up with weight regain. So really breaking down that wall and saying, hey, we've got a great system in place for you. You follow this program, you follow these steps, you likely won't gain weight unless something just crazy happens, or regain. And, we address regain a lot too. Plateaus, regain. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have regain at least 10 pounds or more. And just teaching them ahead of time what to expect and how to address it as it comes up. That's what we want to supply them with. We want them to be prepared for these kinds of things. Because if not, they can end up gaining a few pounds, get sad about it, and just go downhill. I mean, you never know. But they're also wanting customized pre and post-op care. Now, this is extremely difficult to give in a clinical setting. No one has time to give tailored dietary and exercise plans to each and every individual. However, knowing where to send them in order to get this, if this is something they desire, is huge. Knowing what resources to send your patients to. I remember when I first started in the office, I didn't have any resources. I quickly searched top 10 gyms or top 10 classes in the area, aquatics, weights, outside, inside, because patients really have an issue with taking the first step and researching their options. Number one, they don't even know what to research. Well, what do I search whenever I think exercise? So, everyone needs something different. We just really have to tap into, okay, what does this type of person need and what direction can I lead them if we can't accommodate their needs in office? And then providing mental health support to address body image issues and emotional well-being. There is a huge growth with mental health awareness with that specific generation. We have, since COVID, access to mental health care has blown up. Now, affordability, I can't speak to that, but at least availability is there. And when we're talking about bariatric surgery, it most definitely is a priority to assess and address any concerns with food habits, addictions, anything. What might sneak up for them after surgery? You just really want to screen for risk and provide the type of help that they need. And it doesn't even have to be, it doesn't honestly have to be, which is extremely helpful, of course, and it's a part of their requirements. It doesn't have to be necessarily a psychiatrist or a psychologist they go to all the time. It could be merely a support group that you offer and you have a speaker telling them how to address these types of issues, how to reduce food noise, how to talk to your friends and family about, your decision and, all kinds of stuff. It doesn't matter what it is, but just providing that resource to them is amazing. It really makes a huge difference. All right, and enhancing patient engagement. This one is huge, guys. First of all, utilizing technology for continuous engagement and monitoring, and also creating interactive and educational content to keep patients informed. So on the left-hand side here, what technology are we going to use for continuous engagement and monitoring? So like fitness tracking apps, food tracking apps, there are tons of options. I do have a few different options that I recommend specifically to these patients, just because I know how they operate. I know the ease of operation. Some of them are way too complicated. And then there may be also clinic-specific programs that you have in place that you keep a close eye on your patients and you track certain things and you follow up on certain things like metrics, body fat percentage, muscle loss, muscle gain. It's almost useless to me in my mind to just track their BMI and track their weight. That's not telling them anything. They need more detail so that they have motivation. And then creating interactive and educational content to keep patients informed. This is a must in my program, and this is where the success comes from: workshops, master classes, e-courses, newsletters, blogs.
Whitney, can you share just quickly a few examples of, e-course topics, workshop topics, newsletter topics, just a few ideas that you found to really resonate with the
Oh
younger
yeah.
demographic?
Yeah, so like workshops and master classes, a lot of my workshops they're either going to be nutrition related, exercise related, or mindset related. So nutrition related, an example would be how to create a meal plan, or how to go grocery shopping, how to let's see, how to set up an exercise routine, how to build healthy habits, how to it's how to everything. And a lot of it's behavior based as well, because we all know that behavior change is the biggest thing that people have to adopt after surgery. And learning how to forget old habits, how to create new ones, how to stack them, how to everything. So everything that they're learning in these workshops and master classes. And like master classes, for instance, I do a lot of nutrition related ones, because people at the end of the day don't know what a carb is. They don't know what a protein is. They don't know what a fat is. They don't know how to track it. They just don't know. So we're not teaching anything above and beyond, like, what they really need to know, other than the basics. The basics we always go back to the basics, and we constantly hone in on those basics and practice the basics. But that's what they're learning in these. And then for e-courses, how to prepare for surgery. That'll include like what you need to do for nutrition, what you need to do to get started with an exercise routine, how to get your mind right. So how to prep for surgery. And then there's tons of e-courses that you can do on the back end too, like, resetting things, or getting back on track, how to get through your post-op diet phases. I mean, anything that keeps them engaged on a regular basis. And that's why the membership for me works, because they're hungry. They're hungry for information. They want to know people are listening to them. They want to know people are caring for them and sending them supportive material.
Thanks, Whitney. And I saw just a couple of people join kind of midway.
Okay.
So you guys know, if you do have questions, something you would like answered, just type it in the Q&A module in Zoom. I know we have one last section about technology, and then we'll kind of get to the end. And if we have a couple minutes, we're happy to answer questions. So I just wanted to mention that in case you joined, throughout. Thanks, guys.
And then building a supportive community, encouraging participation in support groups and peer networks. If you don't have a support group, I send them to mine, please. Support groups are amazing, especially if they are moderated by someone like myself. I have experience. I'm a dietitian, obviously, but I'm a trainer too, and I have a lot of mindset coaching experience. So having someone participate and moderate in that group that can share articles, share challenges, just basically keep them engaged. They love it and they appreciate it. This is where they get the most support. And facilitating connections through social media and online platforms. This is just me like pointing people in the right direction. Hey, this person is highly successful on Instagram. You should follow her. Look at her meal plans. Look at how she meal preps. I can't do it all. So I would much rather them go to an influencer and look at the real deal kind of thing too, like in the moment. All right, so last big slide here. So the role of technology in patient care, we've got digital tools and apps. So meal planning, exercise tracking, medication reminders, they use them. Please recommend them. Platforms for virtual consultations and follow-ups. They always appreciate those options. Wearable devices. So they like to monitor their physical activity, sleep patterns. Apple's done a wonderful job of tracking everything for us. And that's wonderful when it comes to this, because like sleep, that's overlooked all the time. People aren't getting enough sleep. They don't know how to wind themselves down and cut away from, technology. But what they're getting from this is real-time feedback and motivation. So they're not waiting until their next appointment to say, oh, good job. You've lost 10 pounds. You've gained 2 pounds of muscle. They're not waiting. They're getting this feedback themselves. And then telemedicine. We want to increase access to specialists and reduce travel barriers, because like we said, that generation, we're working. They're just busier and busier behind a computer. Why not accommodate that? Let's offer that to them. Offering flexibility and convenience for follow-up appointments. So same thing. So they're more likely to follow up if you offer a more convenient approach. And then building a future-ready bariatric practice. Obviously, we're all wanting to adapt to change. We want to stay updated with the latest research and trends in bariatric care. Invest in training and development for healthcare providers. I like to suggest everyone should be cross-trained in the office. You should have a bare minimum education with how to suggest what diet they need to be on. And if not, please let a dietitian do it. And investing in training for healthcare providers. Oh, and exercise. Even if you have to have someone come in and talk to your providers and just give you a little bit of education, that's wonderful, I think, especially if there's not time or resources that you have. Lastly, a collaborative approach between surgeons, dietitians, psychologists, and other specialists. I love that collaborative approach. When centers have that collaborative approach, they get great reviews and they get a lot of patients and they get a lot of happy patients. And involving patients in the decision-making process to enhance satisfaction. They want to be a part of their decisions. No goals made for them, make goals with them. All right, we want to understand younger patients' preferences and perspectives. Check. Strategies to meet their unique needs and improve outcomes. That's what we're really after. We want to improve outcomes, long-term outcomes. So we want to adopt a patient-centered technology-driven approach to meet the need for continuous improvement and innovation in bariatric care. I just love this. I'm super passionate about it. But thank you so much for joining us and having me today. I hope we all are on the same page with this, and we're all just as passionate because we're on this call together. So glad everybody joined.
Thank you for walking through this, Whitney. And I guess for me personally, like one of the big themes I saw was just real time. It's like,
yeah,
real-time metrics, real-time feedback from the providers, real-time access to, behind the scenes of what's happening with the practice on social media. I think with the younger demographic, it's that instantaneous feedback that, we need to prioritize. So again, for me, that was kind of a central theme throughout.
right.
Just a couple things as we close here. Whitney, I want you to talk briefly about Level Up in just a second, but first of all, guys, this webinar will be recorded. And so afterwards here, I'll shoot over the link. If you have colleagues, friends, even patients, somebody you would like to see this, feel free to share the webinar. We're doing these quarterly. And so we'll be back next quarter with another webinar. The topic is TBD, but we're trying our best to touch on topics that practitioners find interesting and are highly relevant to what they're seeing in clinic every day. So stay tuned for an email about our next webinar coming up. Again, if you have any questions, hello@bariamelts.com, or my email. I'm Austin Rhodes for those that you joined in the middle. My email is austin@bariamelts.com. And then the fun announcement here is we have on July 8th a new Bariamelts product coming out. It's our multivitamin with iron, but in a blueberry flavor. Sorry, I got a tongue twister there. Multivitamin with iron in our new blueberry flavor. And so if your patients are looking for different flavors to try, be sure to direct them. July 8th is the day that is launching. And then next week for the July 4th holiday, we have a sale going on all week. And so, if patients have questions about coupons, sales, way to get a discount, next week is a great time for them to visit our website, bariamelts.com. It's one of our biggest sales of the year. And so I highly recommend that you have your patients check it out. I'm just checking my list here. I believe that is everything. Whitney, would you please tell us how people can find you on social media? If patients have questions, how do they get in touch?
Absolutely. You can find me. You can go to my website, levelupbariatrics.com. That will show you the services that I offer. We mainly do a subscription or membership. So for a low cost, patients get a workshop, a masterclass, a recipe bundle. We do one challenge a month. And we do a live support group. So they're getting all of these supportive materials. And, I have a private support group as well. It's called the Level Up Bariatrics Private Support Group. You can send patients there, request to join. Even providers can join. I encourage providers to get in on what these patients are doing so that you can truly understand what they're wanting, what they're talking about. I think that's the first thing to understanding our patient population is what are they doing? Let me get in there. So yeah, we do membership based, and then we also offer one-on-one coaching with myself. I don't do that primarily, but for those who are ready and willing, they can apply for coaching.
Awesome. Thanks for everyone for joining us here. I know we're at time. Again, hello@barrymelts.com, Austin@barrymelts.com for any questions. We'll be in touch with the webinar recording, and we'd love to see you on our next webinar. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your week, and a happy 4th of July. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. See you next time.